Hi, good morning. I hope I'm audible to all of you. Can I just get a confirmation? Can somebody just raise hand and give me a confirmation? All right, perfect. First of all, apologies to start late. I think the world that we live in, technology can only be, you know, managed to a certain extent. But anyways, thank you everybody for joining in. Uh, Beautiful Sunday morning, at least here in Mumbai. The rain gods have shown us mercy, and I'm sure the weather is equally good wherever you guys are located. Without any further delay, let's get this webinar started. So, to set the context right, this webinar is essentially about how will you manage yourself in terms of your funding options uh, for your higher education journey, which is a right education loan option, which is the one that you should be selecting. How can Edumate kind of help you in your journey while you eventually parallelly are working on the academic side? How can Edumate add value to your journey? Um, and any other question that kind of comes along the way, please feel free to drop in your questions in the comments section, and I'll be more than happy to kind of answer your queries as we go along the way. um, who am I? My name is Priyank Mehta. I am the co-founder and CBO at Edumate Global. I have spent about 18 years in the corporate before co-founding Edumate. 12 of those 18 years have been spent in student lending business. I have been fortunate enough to work with some of the largest education loan players in the country. My last stint was with Tata Capital. Um, I was a product head for education loans, and having spent a decent amount of time in that space on the lending side of the table, puts us in a very unique position to be able to help you, guide you in a very transparent and fair manner while you kind of go along your journey. Um, Let me share my screen so that you guys can see the presentation. I hope it's visible to all of you now. Um, just give me a second. Yeah, I hope it's visible to all of you. Um, as I said, please start posting your questions in the Q&A tab. Once I complete the entire presentation, I'll be more than happy to answer all the queries that have come in. Yep. So let's begin with understanding how can you actually fund your higher education. A lot of us use self-funding as a mechanism to fund our higher education. Some of us fortunate ones have also the backup from our existing employers to sponsor our higher education. Of course, education loan, and we'll talk more. There is also crowdfunding, there is assistantship, fellowship, there are scholarships. You work part time to kind of gather few funds to be able to manage your living expenses. For some of us, it's a combination of multiple things. For some of us, it's probably one single option. But I think these are the different ways in which we can, kind of fund for our higher education. We're going to talk in detail about education loans, student loans, right? And before we begin that, it's important to understand which expenses or what kind of expenses does an education loan cover. Um, 14, 15 years back when I came into the domain, my understanding was that it's always a tuition fee because that is what is mentioned on your admit letter is what gets covered. Surprisingly, there are options available today where the lender looks at your expenses in a much more holistic manner. What do I mean by that? They do not restrict themselves only to tuition fees. They are able to fund you for your living expenses, for your travel expenses, your health insurance cost. Even if you need to buy a certain laptop, maybe a MacBook or certain stationery, which is a sizable amount that you need to put in. So all those expenses can be covered as part of your education loan, right? It's no longer about only talking about what is there on the admit letter, which is usually the tuition fee. It's now about cost of attending the program, which covers all the different expenses which you can see in front of your screens. Having said that, it's also now important to understand that what are the kind of loans that one can apply for. I am not sure whether we only have people here from India, uh, or do we have some of our fellows, friends from Africa as well. But I'll try to give you a more generic viewpoint, which can be value add for both our Indian as well as African friends. Um, the first three options that you see in front of your screens is specifically for our Indian friends. The fourth one is when we'll also be able to give some kind of value add to our friends from outside of India. The first type of lender which is available for us is that a public sector bank. We all would have heard of State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, so on and so forth. So these are your typical examples for public sector banks, basically government banks. The interest rates are usually the cheapest in these with these lenders. However, there always is a trade-off, right? The trade-off is in terms of unsecured loans. Typically, these lenders do not give you unsecured loans beyond 30 to 40 lakh rupees. Most of us eyeing higher education overseas, the cost of education or the cost of attendance may be far higher than 30 or 40 lakh rupees. If somebody of us are looking at combining our personal savings along with student loan, then perhaps this could be a good place to begin our journey. The turnaround times are typically longer. They take about 3 to 5 weeks to process your loans, and the loans can only begin once you have an admit letter in place. Let's now talk about private banks. So you have the IDFCs, the Axis, the ICICI, Yes Bank of the world, which essentially operate in this space. The unsecured limits are slightly higher. They can go up to 1 crore to fund for your education. By the way, yes, unsecured loans are absolutely possible in education loan. Surprisingly, if you look at some of the studies, some of the data points, almost 85% of the loans that get booked in India are unsecured in nature. There is no collateral attached to it. Coming back, private banks up to 1 crore of unsecured loans, typically beyond 40 lakh rupees and beyond 1 crore for public sector and private sector banks respectively, there usually is a need for collateral. I'll talk about collateral after I complete what I have to talk about NBFCs. But private sector banks with the relatively higher loan limits, unsecured loan limits, the rate of interest are slightly on the higher side when you compare them with public sector bank. But then you get a better service. There's slightly more flexibility in their approach, right? And you can actually get your loan approved even without an admit letter in place. I repeat, you can get a loan approved even without an admit letter in place. Let's now talk about NBFCs. Majority of the loans, education loans that get booked in the country in India are from NBFCs. You may have heard of Credila, Avance, Poonawalla, Tata Capital. These are some of the top layered NBFCs operating in the space. Uh, the unsecured limit goes to as high as 1.25 crores. 1.25 crores is the maximum unsecured limit that the NBFC domain can actually provide for us, which for most of us would cover a good chunk of our expenses. In terms of the interest rates, I would kind of put them in similar bucket or similar range as private sector banks, at least for the larger NBFCs. As you keep going down the NBFC domain, it is in reverse proportionate to the interest rates. The interest rates kind of keep skyrocketing as you go down the line. Very flexible, very flexible in their approach. Some of them have digital journeys, not only in terms of customer onboarding, but also in terms of execution of your agreements, your repayments, so on and so forth. Um, I said I'll talk about collateral. So when you go for loans beyond 40 lakh rupees for a public bank, beyond 1 crore for a private bank, beyond 1.25 crores for an NBFC, that's when we need to provide for a collateral. Now, this collateral could be a residential or a commercial property. It could be fixed deposits. It could be a non agricultural land, a piece of plot that you own that can be used as a collateral when you apply for loans. Typically, education loans in the country are available up to 3 crores using a collateral. When you opt in or when you provide for a collateral, they typically, the public banks and the private banks give you about 65 to 75% of the value of the collateral as a loan. For example, if the property that you are wanting to mortgage, let's say it's a residential property in Mumbai, costing about 2 crores. So the maximum unsecured loan that a public bank or a private bank may give you would be 1.3 to 1.4 crores. That's where NBFCs also provide you with options like going up to 125% of your collateral value as a loan. In the same example, where the collateral value is 2 crores, they would be able to extend you 2.5 crores as loan limit for your education purpose. Let's talk about the fourth cohort. And this is where, if some of you are joining us from outside of India, now is the time to focus on what I'm about to say. There's always the option of opting for a education loan from one of the dollar loan companies. Some of you may have heard of Empower, some of you may have heard of Prodigy. So these are essentially fintechs working in the lending space, education lending space, where they're able to give education loans to about 80 odd nationalities across the globe. So, and they are able to support about 600 to 800 schools at this point in time. These loans are completely unsecured in nature, and they also come to you without addition of a co-signer or a co-applicant. All the Indian loans, the first three groups, you need to provide for a you need to provide for a co-applicant, a co-signer. But with the dollar loan companies, you do not need, or there is no requirement for you to add a co-applicant or a co-signer in your loan process. They have a beautiful journey, which typically takes you about 10 to 15 minutes to determine, the directional loan approval that they want to provide to you. Um, Once you agree, once you are okay with that amount, it's only then that you kind of upload your documents to get the final approval. So these are the different options that are available for both Indian as well as non-Indian students. Um, Essentially, it's not a one fit all kind of a scenario. So just because you think that the interest rates in a government bank is lesser, that may not be the right choice for you. Similarly, by virtue of an NBFC offering you a non-collateral loan of 1.25 crores, that may not be the best option for you. I think that's where Edumate is able to add a lot of value in your journey. We are able to evaluate your background academically and financially while we take those documents and act as your devil's advocate in front of the lender. We help them understand your background, your paperwork in a much more better way, and then also help you negotiate the loan terms along with them. Think of us as a consultant, but the consultant is not helping you in this case to apply to the right university, but to apply to the right lender. That's how Edumate will be able to, kind of add a lot of value in this transaction. We do a one-on-one evaluation with each of you to determine what could be the best possible option. Also, as a platform, we currently work with about 14 lenders spread across all these four cohorts that you see in front of your screens. And the methodology or the ideology is not to make you apply to all the 14 lenders. If I had to do that, I am not adding any value in the transaction. We are able to, very specifically tell you that this is the one or the two lenders where we believe that you may have the highest possibility of an approval, and we then post your concurrence, start your journey with those one or two lenders. Moving along, Um, let's talk about. So we spoke about what can education loan cover. We spoke about what are the different options. Let's also understand that why education loan may be a better choice for a lot of us, as against self-funding or any other ideologies that we may probably have in our mind. The way education loan works is that unlike self-funding, where you need to push in that $100,000 or $120,000 completely going out of your pocket in the next 12 to 24 months, vis-a-vis an education loan where you are essentially repaying it back to the lender over a large period of time. You're typically given 12 to 15 years to repay back that 100,000 or 120,000 or $150,000 back to the lender over the next 15 years period of time, which also means you're not eating into your savings, your investments, which also means that there's an opportunity cost that you are able to leverage upon, while the money that you already, if some of us are fortunate enough to have that 100,000 or $150,000 available with us, you might as well keep them invested, maybe in the typical investment products which are available, or in the businesses of your parents, and try to get a better return vis-a-vis paying on a loan, which makes a lot of sense, over a long period of time. Also, it's interesting to know that I don't know how many of you have actually applied for loans in your past, be it a personal loan or an auto loan or something. But the way most of the loans operate is that the methodology adopted is that once you apply for a loan, your EMI typically starts from the next month onwards. But that's not how most of the better lenders in education loan operate. The EMI is deferred to 6 months after graduation. All right, let me probably give you an example. Somebody's targeting a 24-month program starting January 2026. So for the first 2 years, plus another 6 months after graduation, which means up to July 2028, you're not expected to pay any kind of EMIs on the loan. The EMI would start from August of 2028 from your account or from your parents' account. But for the first 2.5 years, you're not expected to pay any kind of EMIs. What is expected is to pay a standard amount as low as 2,000 rupees on a monthly basis. Right. So that makes it a very interesting proposition, because it does not have a short term cash flow impact on your budgets. There's a lot more flexibility because you are starting your EMIs 6 months after graduation, which allows you time to find a job, get settled into a job, and then start paying for your EMIs. Also, I'm sure all of you would have heard about CIBIL credit histories. Um, so by virtue of you opting in for this education loan, you're already building your credit score. Uh, um, with some of the lenders that we spoke about, the four cohorts, some of them also, report their repayment data to the international credit history companies, which means by the time you graduate, you would have already created a credit history in the US or any part of the world that you aspire to go to, which makes it easier for you to then apply for other kind of credit facilities, be it a credit card or a housing loan mortgage that you may want to kind of apply. So that also works in our favor. um, Structured repayments over a long-term period. We already spoke about how you're not putting the money from your pocket on an immediate basis in the next 12 to 24 months, but essentially repaying the loan in the next 180 months, which is 15 years. So it has a huge positive impact on your cash flows. Rather than using your own funds and depleting them, might as well structure it and pay it over a long period of time. Also, it's interesting to know the way most lenders operate is that they allow you to make part payments and also foreclosures on your loan. So let's take a scenario where you've taken a loan for 15 years. You need not have this loan remain active for the next 15 years. You find a job, you got a joining bonus, you have enough money to at least pay 30-40% of your loan outstanding as a part payment. Feel free to do that. right? In fact, I recommend that if you can make part payments, multiple part payments, in fact, even foreclose your loan very early in the cycle, you should do that and not pay unnecessary interest. If you log on to Edumate's website, we have actually built a calculator. Our technology team has made a beautiful calculator for all of you. If you log into the resources section, there's an EMI calculator, and it's not a plain vanilla EMI calculator. It tells you different scenarios on how can you save on your interest costs, right? By doing a few adjustments, a few elements of discipline that you bring in, financial discipline, you can actually save a lot of interest over the next 10, 15 years. Feel free to log on and use this free resource to understand that how can you actually, make those small adjustments resulting into large savings. Moving on, by virtue of you taking education loan, there's also an element of income tax benefit and TCS benefit. I'll explain this in detail. Some of us who have got some amount of work experience, you would have, when you come towards, quarter 3 or the quarter 4 of the financial year, you'd be getting a lot of nudges from your HR about, uh, uh, informing them at what kind of investments have you been making to save on your income tax, essentially around your insurance premium, around your provident fund, so on and so forth. So we typically save a lot of money by making payments to these kind of instruments for your housing loan, so on and so forth, essentially saving a lot of money under Section 80C, 80T, and 80CCD, right? But not a lot of us are aware about the income tax benefit on education loan that comes with 80E, E for elephant, right? What does this section tell us? This section essentially tells us that when you apply for an education loan and the interest that you pay on your education loan, the entire interest is exempted from your taxable income, which means that if you have paid, say, 5 lakh rupees as interest on your education loan in a financial year, the entire 5 lakh rupees will be exempted or will not be computed while your tax liability is getting calculated. And this benefit can be extended by the student, spouse of the student, and parents. So even while you are studying and your parents are making that small payment of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 rupees, they can actually claim and utilize this benefit and lower down their tax obligation. Unlike the other sections that I spoke about, ADC, ATD, ADCCD, ATE, which is for education loan, currently does not have an upper capping. The rest of the 3 sections, they have an upper capping of 1.5 lakhs, 1.5 lakhs, and I think about 60, 65,000. But ATE currently does not have an upper capping. Let's talk about the TCS benefit on foreign remittances. All of us, the Indian students, all of us our families earn in INR, our savings are in INR. So irrespective whether you are self-funding your loan or you are mortgaging your gold, which by the way is a very expensive affair, you should not be doing that for education purpose. But some of us want to mortgage our gold uh, and and use that proceeds for our education purpose. Again, that is still an INR. People who use education loan, that again is an INR. But you need to make payments to your university, maybe in an American dollar, maybe in a euro, maybe in an Australian dollar, depending on where your university is located geographically. Back in 2022, the government of India started TCS, tax collectible at source, on outward foreign remittances. The current rule states that whenever you make an outward foreign remittance going from India to outside, for the first 10 lakh rupees, there is no TCS, tax collectible at source. But the moment you cross the threshold of 10 lakh rupees in a financial year, suddenly you are expected to pay 5% as TCS on that outward foreign remittance. Of course, by the time you file for your income tax return, you could claim that money back, but essentially that money is lying with the government for the next 6 to 8 months rather than you utilizing it somewhere and trying to create some opportunity income out of it. However, by the virtue of you taking education loan, And again, we need to be mindful that both ATE and the TCS benefit are not available for all kinds of education loan. It's very important for you to understand which are those lenders for whose loan you would be getting this income tax benefit and TCS benefit. You could talk to us. We'll be able to guide you more around it when we talk to you one on one. But essentially, the 10%, sorry, the 5% beyond 10 lakh rupees does not come into play when you apply for a TCS, when you apply for an education loan. The 5% is waived off right from day one. So when you combine all these benefits, including the ATE and the TCS benefit, suddenly education loan may make a lot more sense than probably funding it yourself or probably taking some other forms of credit like a gold loan or a personal loan or a loan against property or a business loan in some cases, right? So all these benefits don't are not available in those kind of instruments. It's also very interesting to know that you can actually use a combination of different things for when you apply for your education loan. Let's take an example here. Your cost of attendance is going to be 1.2 crores, hypothetically. You have a scholarship of say 20 lakh rupees. Your family is willing to push in say 30 lakh rupees, which means you may need the education loan only to the extent of 70 lakh rupees. Now, lenders are typically okay with it while you apply only for a fraction of your requirement as loan. So that's absolutely fine. It is also all right to not utilize the entire loan over the next 2 years or 1 year period while you're studying. You may probably get a research assistantship, teaching assistantship. You're working on the campus and you're able to manage a certain amount of expense on your own. So at the end of 2 years of the 70 lakh rupees that you applied for, you've only utilized 50 lakh rupees, and that's absolutely fine, right? And again, the interest is not on 70 lakh rupees, right? A lot of us believe that 70 lakhs loan is approved, so we'll be charged interest 70 lakh rupees. No, it is on as and when you take the disbursement. That's how the interest is computed. Of the 70 lakh rupees, we may need initially, say, for example, 20 lakh rupees. So our interest is being borne upon 20 lakh rupees. After 6 months, you come back and say that I need another 20 lakh rupees. So that's when you'll be charged on 40 lakh rupees. So that's how the computation of interest happens for education loan, at least with the good lenders, right? I think I've spoken enough about why education loan. Let me break down what are the lenders essentially looking, right? The lender, when you apply for your loan, essentially is looking for three things, right? The first being the student herself or himself. So when I say student, they're looking at your past academics. They're looking at the school that you're getting into. They're also looking at what kind of course you're doing in that school. Geopolitical situation has suddenly started becoming very relevant and important for the lenders, and a lot of them are changing their policies every fortnight. Right, only last week, couple of private sector banks have now made it uh, have put in some thresholds or some parameters for USA. Right, they are not making it very easy for USA logins to happen. Right. But essentially, these are the things that the lender is looking at from the student perspective. Then they're looking at the co-applicants, the parents' profile. So let me also break this for you. When you apply for a 1 crore loan or a 1.25 crore loan, the lender is not essentially looking at somebody with a 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh rupee monthly income. They're essentially looking at a reasonable monthly income of 25, 30, 35,000 rupees for you to apply for a loan of 1.25 crores. All right. So they're essentially looking into your parents, their banking habits, their credit histories. And third is the collateral. That is, in case we are providing for a collateral, then they're looking at the quality of collateral, so on and so forth. These are the three things that they look. On the face of it, sounds very good, sounds very simple, but the thresholds or the way they look at every parameter, it differs from lender to lender. A 690 GMAT will be looked at different lens with a different lens by lender A vis-a-vis lender B. And that's where we are able to pinpoint lenders to you. This is your background, your document, that this lender will have the highest probability of, kind of getting your loan approved. All right. I think I am done with my presentation, and I'm happy to, kind of answer your queries. Let me see if there are any questions. Ramya, sorry, you may not get a recording of this session, but you could take pictures of the PPT. We will try to kind of, share the PPT along with you, right? But we'll be more than happy to, interact with you one on one, because this is a very high level overview of how education loans are. But Ramya, your situation will be very different from everybody else on this session. So feel free to connect with us. We would just be touching base with you, and helping you evaluate your options. And yeah, I hope I answered your question. Suryansh, you want to study in Japan? Absolutely. We do have lending partnerships where even doing a business program in Japan can be funded. I would love to have that one on one session with you, Suryansh, so that we are able to evaluate the exact options of what could be the best fit for you in terms of the lending partner. Anjala, yes, even though you're not from India, you can apply for education loan. What we can do is, I will just put on chat the Empower link. You can go on that URL and, kind of go through the journey, put in a few details, and get an in principle approval from them. Sunidhi is asking about my mother will be applying for education loan. She already has a housing loan in her name. If we take ITR to be 5 to 6 lakhs, will you be able to get a loan of 30, 40 lakhs? Oh yes, Sunidhi, lenders are very cognizant of the fact that a lot of us are not only running an education loan, right? We are running multiple loans: personal loan, housing loan, auto loan, even credit card dues. So it's absolutely fine, right? There can be a structuring done for you, Sunidhi. But it's a very specific question. I would want to understand the housing loan EMI. What is the outstanding on that housing loan? What kind of an admin have you got, or are you aspiring to get? And of course, we'll be able to help you in this journey. Um, there's a question about if there's a single parent who is a sole breadwinner and is set to retire this year, what are the chances of getting a loan, education loan for 2026? A very interesting question. Yes, absolutely doable. Some of us have parents who are, almost 59, 60, sometimes even beyond that. Some of them are on the verge of retirement. Some have already retired. Some have retired with pension. Some do not have pension, right? So all those combinations can be addressed. We would love to have that one-on-one interaction with you to understand your profile, your background, your situation, and then help you with the journey. Um, I think the next point is about education loans for China. There are very few lenders who give out education loan for China. So we would want to evaluate your situation before I can, confirm anything to you. And largely, this was because since pandemic in 2020, a lot of lenders stopped funding in China, owing to those situations back then. But let's have that one-on-one conversation to understand it better, right? Um, so Nidhi, I understood you're in India, and I hope the response that I gave to your question that made sense. You did get an understanding. If not, please feel free to drop in a text again. Vibha has a question. Can you please give a range of university rankings which are considered good enough for a loan of about 30, 35 lakhs? Vibha, we have a pre-approved university list of 3,000 universities, which means that we would be able to get you some loan options for 3,000 universities across the globe, right? So do not worry about the rankings. When I say 3,000 universities, a good chunk of universities do get covered, and this is across the globe and India. We can help you for your higher education in India as well. Right, so do not worry. Let's connect one on one where we are able to evaluate this further and then tell you that where can we get you that. I'm assuming you're looking for a 35 non-collateral loan or even with collateral. What could be that best loan offering for you? Shankari, my sister, married, lives in Canada. She has Indian passport. Can I put her as co-borrower while applying for a loan? Absolutely doable. Shankari, that's absolutely possible. However, we may have to add somebody who is staying here in India as well on the loan structure, because you and your sister both would be out of staying outside of India after a point in time. So we may probably have to add your parents. Maybe they do not have an active source of income, but we may just have to take them from somebody being actually present in India to kind of yeah, absolutely doable. We do service a lot of these kind of loans. Shoaib has a question. I'm an MBA graduate. I'm interested in studying in Finland in a vocational college in a new field of study. Are there any non-collateral, no cosigner loans? And are there any partial or fully funded scholarship? Sure, I would request you to, go through Seed's website. There are a bunch of scholarship already listed there, right? Again, Finland is not something that they may probably have a scholarship for, but there are more and enough opportunities today to opt in for scholarship. A lot of corporates like Tata Sons has a beautiful endowment fund. IDFC First Bank has an endowment fund. So you may want to do a little research around there. But answering your question about to be able to get you some funding option for a vocational program in Finland, doable, absolutely doable. Um, Sundar, clinical embryology in abroad, is that worth by taking an education loan? Um, Sundar, I can help you understand that whether for a certain program kind, certain university type, is an education loan available or not. I would be able to give you a certain very high level overview or a sense about what could be the employment possibility, but we will have to talk in much detail. This is a very generic statement. Abroad could be any country, right? So probably we would want to have that one-on-one session to be able to evaluate your situation better. Krishna has a question. Krishna wants to take a loan for a bachelor's degree in Netherlands. Absolutely. So education loans are typically available at an undergraduate and at master's and at executive program level. So absolutely doable, Krishna. There are options to be able to help you at an undergraduate level up to 1.5 crores as well. Maybe let's connect offline and discuss in much details, right? Um, there's a question: does education loan cover other expenses? Oh, absolutely, it does. Lenders, most of the good lenders don't think that only funding for your tuition would make sense. They also fund you for your living expense, travel expense, insurance, and a whole gamut of expense. So yes, absolutely possible. Shivam. Shivam wants to do MBA in Germany. My father's income is less than 20,000. Can I go with my aunt? She's a police officer. Oh yes, Shivam. Some of the lenders do allow immediate family members beyond parents to also, kind of get attached to the loan as co-applicants. So we would be able to structure something around for you. Don't worry. What is the probability of getting an education loan if my CGPA is about 9 with a good resume, if I'm from a tier 3 college and got into a public university in Germany and my parents' annual income is 14 lakhs per annum? I would like to repeat what I said. From a lending perspective, lenders are essentially looking at three things: the student, your past academics. So they're not looking at somebody while you do have a CGPA of about 9, which is a very good score. but they're essentially looking at a reasonable amount of academic prowess that you possess, right? Which could also be in some cases a 7 or a 6.5 CGPA. But prima facie, what I read, it looks absolutely doable. But we would want to have that one-on-one interaction so that I'm able to pinpoint that this is the one or these are the two lenders where you will be able to get, the best loan terms. Hi, I'm Soumya. I'm planning to study in Germany for a master's in tourism and hospitality management. Can I get an education loan which is non-collateral loan? Doable, Soumya. Let's connect. We will be able to give you some option for the non-collateral loan in tourism and hospitality management as well. The structuring may be slightly different, but we would be able to, get some lenders to agree for this bit. Oh yeah, thank you, Sunidhi, for asking this. How to have the one-on-one. So what we would be doing is we have just captured your details. We would be reaching out to you, to set up those calls. But you can also, and let me, I also have to give the Empower link. I am putting the link where you can register to get your, or, block my calendar to book your session with me. I think I will do that parallel. Let me also, sorry, I'm trying to mm, hover around different screens. Um, I would share that link with you, Sunidhi, but don't worry, we will be reaching out to you one on one. We would be giving you calls and setting up your one-on-one sessions. Shuaib has a question. My percentage is 69% in both BBA and MBA. What are my scholarship and loan options? Also, do I even have a chance of having a scholarship of this percentage? Sure, there are a lot of scholarships available, and their prerequisites differ from scholarship to scholarship. It would be very difficult to, give you this answer, which is very generic. And you should actually look at all these scholarships. They do have their prerequisites available, which you can read through and get a sense around whether you may be eligible for them or not. Scholarship are essentially given to you as a need-based scholarship, which is essentially, kind of dependent upon our financial situation, but some of them are also merit-based. So you'll have to scout through some of these scholarships to get a sense around, you know, um, what are the different scholarships that you are eligible for. From a loan perspective, this only gives me partial information, right? Your past academic score of a 69% in BBA does not give me the entire information that I would love to have to comment a lot more on your education loan perspective. But happy to do that one-on-one session to get you um, to get you a more sense around to get you a lot more sense around what are the loan options available. I have, in the meanwhile, posted the Empower link in the chat window. You guys can take it up from there and check the loan journey. Get gives you a little sense around what could be the potential loan amount that you can get. But my suggestion that if you're from India, please do that one-on-one session with us so that we are able to evaluate all the options before finalizing on one thing. For our friends who are not from India, unfortunately, this is the only option that we have at this point in time to service your needs. Feel free to get a sense of what kind of loan can be given to you. Shankari, yes, you can have more than one person as a co-borrower or a co-applicant on the loan. Yes, absolutely. It could be both parents. In some cases, it could be a parent aunt, uh, one of the parent uncle. So combinations are possible. Shankari also has a question when loan is already granted, and after then, if I get a scholarship, what happens with the loan granted in this case? What will be sunk costs? A very interesting question. All right. So, some of you who are targeting spring, right, the loan journey needs to begin as of yesterday, all right, because you need this loan You need a sanction letter from the lender for your visa purpose. Some of you targeting US need it for your I-20 purpose. Some universities also want to see your financial prudence and confirm your admit after they have seen evaluated your financial situation. So again, the sanction letter is needed, right? Um, People who are targeting fall, again, this is the time usually my recommendation while people usually wake up, and this is a mistake, a very common mistake that a lot of people make. They usually wake up in the month of January, February to begin their loan journey. And Shankari, I'll answer your question, but they wake up in January, February to start their loan journeys while we are able to get you a loan approval even today. Why is today important even for a fall student? It gives you a sense around that, this is the loan quantum that is available for you, plus maybe your scholarship. Some of you may have heard of it today, some of you may not hear from scholarship today, or this is your personal funds. So combination of all these three, these two or this one option, what is the kind of amount that you have in your that you have available with you, which then also allows you to apply to universities in a certain manner, right? If the loan available to you is only X, you may not want to apply to a school which is 2X unless you have a backup plan of pushing your personal funds or a scholarship. But to answer your question very specific, Shankari, let's say we get a loan approved of 1 crore, right? And at this stage, you do not have a sense around whether you qualify for a scholarship or not. 2 months down the line, you get a scholarship. We can always downsize the loan amount, right, to the quantum of scholarship received. So all those combinations are absolutely possible. Somebody's written about, I want to do my MBA in Germany. Father's income is less than 20,000. Can I go with my aunt as co-applicant? I think I'm answering this question again, but yes, it's absolutely doable. More than one co-applicant in the loan beyond your parents is also possible, but it's a very case specific discussion that we would need to have it, right? Um, for the previous question, my CGPA is about 9, but my 12th score is 74 and my college is tier 3. Would it create an issue? Prima facie, no, but again, I'm getting to know your background in a broken manner, right? Let's evaluate your profile in a holistic manner before deciding that what could be the potential problem, if any, that could come in. And we'll, of course, tackle the problem if it comes in. Don't worry. Krishna has a question. I did a diploma in mechanical engineering with a 7.29 CGPA and a bachelor's with 7.8 CGPA and a 1 year work experience. Can I get an education loan for an MBA abroad? Yeah, Krishna, it looks a very typical MBA abroad profile that you have. Absolutely doable. But I know I'm repeating myself. Get into that one on one conversation to help you evaluate your best option. Ramya has a question. I would like to pursue my master's in UK in 2026 and yet to give GMAT and IELTS and planning to apply to ESCP Business School. Will there be loan opportunities and how? Oh, yes, absolutely. The loan opportunities would be there, Ramya. And it could be a combination of the 4 different cohorts that we spoke about. Irrespective whether you have given your GMAT or your IELTS, we would be able to, structure a plan for you to be able to, go through that, the financial journey as you also, complete your GMAT, IELTS and your academic journey. So we would be able to have 2 parallel journeys running for you. Don't worry. Shivam, this question is: Are GMAT essential for loan despite I have 5 years work experience? There are many universities who allow admits without GMAT. So can it work if I apply without GMAT? Absolutely, Shivam. GMAT is not a requirement laid down by the lenders. If the university has waived it off for you and has given you an admit, right, a loan is very much doable. Absolutely. Romeza has a question. Hello, I'm from Pakistan. May I ask about options for Pakistani students? would want to take an education loan of about 20 lakhs Pakistani rupee to study in South Korea or Germany. Rumeza, unfortunately, we currently do not have an option for South Korea, but Germany, yes, we could help you with Prodigy. I would be putting up the Prodigy link also in the chat group. Um, so, yes, that could be one option for you. What are the things that decrease your chances of getting a loan? Not the generic ones. A good question. At this point in time, I'll be only able to talk about generic situations because I do not know your background. The typical reasons why education loans, are not doable or there are rejection. One is, of course, the past credit history. Over the years, I've seen a lot of loans getting rejected because of past credit history. Maybe the earlier loans that our parents have taken, they have not paid it on time. Maybe some of us also. I've seen a lot of students also opting in for pocket loans, the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 rupee loan, and students tend to forget about it, don't pay around it. So that's when I see a large chunk of loans getting declined. But that's the primary reason why loans typically get declined. You have an average academic going to an average school, right? Those kind of nuances can be structured, right? But you need somebody to be able to, you know, become that devil's advocate in front of the lender. The lenders have got multiple applications. They do not spend a lot of time on your single application. And that's where Edumate will be able to add value in making the lender understand that what kind of structuring should happen on this loan so as to get the approval done. So I would say past credit history, um, um, a very rash banking habit. You are bouncing your EMIs, you are bouncing your commitment in financial commitments. That makes it very difficult to get a student loan. Aradhya has a question. I had taken a drop. Will that affect my chances in any way? I'm in a tier 1 college right now. Aradhya, that's a very specific question. Both me and the lender would want to understand what was the reason rationale for the drop and how have you performed academically after the drop. Also, what would help us is the school or the course that you're getting into. So when we evaluate you across all these parameters, we'll be able to take a much more better judgment of this. But yes, to answer your question, it is doable. Shuib, we already have your contact credentials and we would kind of touch base with you. However, I would also let me just paste the URL of the website where if you want, you can, kind of leave back your credentials and, the team will touch base with you. Just give me a second. I will paste it for you. There's a simple 3 or 5 things that you need to, kind of plug into the lead form and share with us. And we would kind of reach to you. Just give me a second. I'm pasting it as we talk. So now I've pasted actually 3 things for you: the Empower link, the Prodigy link, the URL of Edumate, which also gives you access to the calculator that I was talking to you, right? So feel free to navigate through the website to get more and enough options. There's also an email ID on the website and a phone number. So you could connect to us via those modules as well. What are the safe and a good GMAT GRE score to get a good university scholarship loan? If I have to talk about a GRE score, typically lenders are looking at upwards of 285, right? For them to take your applications ahead. A GMAT, I think it would be upwards, but GMAT, I think it would be upwards of 500. But even if you're somebody who has a score lesser than a 285 GRE or a 500 GMAT, don't worry. We will be able to structure some options for you. But directionally, these are the scores that the lenders are looking at. What is a Prodigy? Prodigy Empower are 2 fintechs that give you dollar loans, right? They are not INR loans. These are dollar loans. They give you loans without a co-applicant and without a collateral. They support about 600 odd schools. Uh, Unfortunately, Empower only give loans for Canada and United States at this point in time, but Prodigy is able to give loans across, I think, some 15 countries across the globe. So, and they have a instant approval kind of a thing. When you click on the links that I've shared, it would be redirected to their digital DIY journey where you put in some data points and they give you a loan approval instantly. But if you have more questions and if that's the right option for you or not, we would be able to explore a lot more when we do the one-on-one session. Aradhya's question also around when is the right time to start looking for loan options if I'm applying to fall semester of the European universities and most of their applications and scholarship deadlines are in January. A very good question. I did respond to this in some shape and form sometime back, but let me do it again for everybody. Let's first talk about a spring student, right? A spring student, you're already. I think you should have applied for your loan applications as of yesterday. So if you're somebody who's targeting spring, the January intake, please reach out to us ASAP. We schedule slots Monday through Saturday, right? So when we do that one-on-one session with you, we'll quickly get all your options completed. We'll give you the priority in terms of, having your calls done on priority, getting you the options on priority. But we should begin your journey with the lenders at the earliest possible. For somebody like Aradhya and people who are essentially looking at fall, while I would recommend that you start your loan journeys or at least have that one-on-one sessions with us today, right? You still have another 3 to 4 weeks before which you can start making your applications. A lot of students, I'll tell you the typical habits, Aradhya. Typically, students start their journey in February, March, right? For while they want to go in for a fall semester. It's a little late, in my opinion, and largely because right now you apply for the loan, get a sense around what kind of eligibility are you looking at, and of course, while your scholarship deadlines are in mid-January, late January, we can always downsize the loan when you hear back from one of the scholarship provider. But you do not want to fall into a situation where you didn't have the loan figured out. You also eventually did not get a scholarship, and then you are left in the middle to kind of figure out things for yourself. Getting a loan approved very early in the cycle does not mean that your interest also starts, right? The loan is valid for the next 6 to 12 months. So when we take the first payment, right, for people who are targeting spring, the payments would essentially happen in early January when they come back from the Christmas break. So when those payments start going to the university, that's when your interest also starts. It does not start right now, right? And for students who are targeting fall next year, the payments would essentially, depending on the country of study, would start between June going all the way to August. So when we make those payments in June, between June and August, that's when the interest starts. It does not start today. So get your evaluation done. Post your evaluation. If you think you want to take, maybe a couple of weeks to ponder on it, rethink on it, feel free to do that. But at least get your situation evaluated for the fall students. Spring students, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, you are very late. Get your loans structured ASAP. Get your sessions with me booked ASAP, right? So that we can help you find that options and get started. What creates a great profile? Tell the tips. What could help my application stand out? Um, Fortunately, the way lending industry works is not very similar to your academic cycles in terms of writing a SOP or having a letter of recommendation. You simply need to be a decent student, not an outstanding student. You need to be a decent student. You need to be going to a decent school, not Stanford, not Cornell's of the world. Even if you're going to a school which is a world ranking of 1501, we will be able to get you a structure, a loan around it. Um, the parents need to have at least about 20, 25, 30,000 monthly income, right? And not a 50,000 or 75,000 or a 2 lakh rupee monthly income. I think these small things help us with the loan applications, right? The only place where it kind of becomes complicated is that different lenders have different thresholds, different policies. So that's where we'll be able to tell you that with your profile, which is the best suited lender for you. Viva has a question. Can I get my loan approved for a UK university for MSc without GMAT GRE as I get offered a place without these exams? I have a 7 GPA currently running in my bachelor's. I'm applying for September 2026 intake. Viva, my response would be, let's get your one-on-one session done, completed, understand it better. Now, whether post that session, if I think there is a need to start your application immediately, we would do that. Or if there's a need to, wait for a couple of months before we get started, that's a call we will jointly take after the session, right? See, the way Edumate functions is very simple. We're not somebody who will kind of push everything onto you, right? We would want you to apply with 15 lenders, 20 lenders. Simply does not make sense. I was just talking to a student last weekend. The profile was of the student was top notch, going to NCR. Uh, Father was a government employee earning about 3.5 lakh rupees per month, paying a 25,000 rupee EMI. I mean, one of the most, the student was working in Bain. So I think one of the most creamiest profile that you can get. Uh, the platform that he was working with, and I do not want to name the platforms, made him apply to 8 different lenders. When you get such a cream profile, there is no reason for you to make them apply to 8 different lenders. I mean, what is the whole point of making those multiple applications? I would rather invest time with one, two lenders, get you the best proposition, and get completed, right? Vibha, let's do that one-on-one session and then help you evaluate. Is there a need to start immediate? Whether we do, whether we do have a window available with us, right? That's a call we will jointly take after the session. Shuab has a question. What's the best time to apply for colleges and scholarship for September 2000 intake in Finland? Sure, I think the question, at least to apply to the college, is something that is not my domain, and I wouldn't want to give you half-baked information. I would ask you to reach out to somebody who's a domain expert in your admission cycle. With regards to scholarship, um, I think every scholarship has a different deadline. You'll have to manually scout through the different scholarships which are available and start applying to them depending on their deadline. But for the loan bit, I think once we do the one-on-one session, we'll be able to give you a lot more insights into it. I am just posting down the contact credentials for Edumate on the chat window. I have given you the email address and the contact number, which is also on WhatsApp. Um, okay, okay. Got a question. Can I put two co-borrowers in my loan application? My father who lives in India and sister who lives abroad. Yes, doable. Absolutely. More than one co-applicant with one residing out of India, one residing in India. Absolutely doable. What would be the process if I get scholarship after getting a loan, and what would be a sunk cost in this case? So let me repeat the example. We apply for a loan which is 1 crore, right? 3 months down the line, you hear back from the scholarship that you've got a 20 lakh rupee scholarship. And I hope a lot of you, in fact, all of you do get scholarships, uh, which means your requirement for the loan will now be 80 lakh rupees. We can always ask the lender to downsize the loan amount to the exact same quantum. So answer to both your question is yes, absolutely doable. How to make your application creamy? Okay, just that I can't Okay, my parent income is 14 lakhs per annum. Unfortunately, lending is all about black and white, right? Uh, you can't really make your applications creamy because you're not writing an SOP. You do not need a LOR to start your loan journey. What is needed is a decent average, above average academics. What is needed is a decent monthly income. 20, 25, 30,000 is decent in this case, right? You say your parents have a 14 lakhs per annum income, which is almost equal to a 1.17 lakh rupees per month. So I don't see any reason to make your application more creamier, right? So let's get on that call and understand if what are the different lending options for you. Any other questions? We're done for questions right now. I have shared the Empower link. I've shared the Prodigy link. If you're somebody who's targeting spring, uh, please reach out to us immediately. Uh, let's get your session booked. Um, Unfortunately, the next 10 days, a lot of lenders may not be available owing to Diwali. But at least let's get your session completed so that the evaluation is done. The lender of choice is decided. And the moment they are back from their Diwali break, we simply immediately kind of start making your application. This is for the spring students. For students, a little leeway I can give you, right? But get your sessions booked with us so that the evaluations can get started. Right. If there are no further questions, thank you, anonymous attendee. I have also loved this session and would love to have a creamy interaction with you so that we can make your creamy application to the lender. Uh, so yeah, with this, I think we can call this session closed today. But before we end, I again want to thank all of you for taking out time on a Sunday morning. Um, I wish all of you a very happy Diwali in advance and hope to connect with all of you very soon. All the very best for your journeys. And lastly, I think I missed out one point about Edumate. Hey, you know what? We don't charge you for our services, right? So all these services that we of the evaluation that we do, we liaise with the lenders on your behalf. We essentially do not charge you. So if nothing, get your free session done with us. So yeah, happy to look forward to those sessions. Good luck and have a great remainder of the Sunday. Thank you.